The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 878. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. You can now purchase The Tao of Self-Confidence, a guide to moving beyond trauma and awakening the leader within on Amazon, Barnes & Noble's, Walmart, Indigo, and other major book retailers. Get your copy today. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to The Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan. And today I have an amazing woman on the show today. She's a Chief Product and Marketing Officer, and I'm super excited to have her on today to share her story and wisdom on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Vidhya Srinivasan. Vidhya, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Hi, Sheena. Great to be here. Vidhya Srinivasan. I head up product and marketing here at Magnet. Just a little bit about me. I'm, a proud mom of a 19-year-old who goes to University of Chicago, and a wife for my amazing husband, who are my support system for me as I navigate my journey through both personal and work. But yeah, excited to be here and share some of my experiences in this process with Sheena.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Vidhya, what's your cultural background?
Yeah, I'm a person of Indian origin, so Asian Indian woman, born in Chennai, South India, but came over to the United States as part of my educational endeavors.
Thanks for sharing that. And what'd be your favorite self-confidence quote?
I have a few, but I'm going to pick the one that probably is closer to how I think of myself day in, day out. The one with Tina Fey, which is don't waste your energy trying to change opinions, do your thing, and don't care if they like it. It's just sort of very symbolic in the way, I live every day, sort of, because we all have experiences or people we interact with depending on our workplace or personal life. And at the end of the day, we need to be true to who we are and what we believe in. So that quote sort of, I felt like was a self-reflection of who I am as a person. So that's what I navigate to.
Thanks for sharing that. And I love that. And I know sometimes it's easier said than done, especially as Asian women. We've been taught to live a certain way, be a certain way, and we deal with a lot, right? We sometimes care about what other people think of us, or, we have to serve everyone else before we take care of ourselves. And it's important to just show up as our authentic self because, that's how we can live life according to our terms, to be genuinely happy and be able to help others in the process. So I love that quote that you mentioned. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
It's really about, not to use the word confidence again, but really certain about who I am as a person and be true to self. I think that's the only thing that keeps me going. So I certainly is something that I instilled in my daughter when she was growing up, because as you said, one with the Asian Indian, heritage, coming as, immigrants into a country, as well as being a woman in a workplace. And, I grew up sort of as a software engineer. So as I grew up, there was, not as many women with whom I worked. So really making sure that at any point in time, I was true to who I am and being certain of everything I did for myself, as opposed to, kind of going back to Tina Fey quote, not for somebody else. I think that's kind of, and every step of the way when you make progress, that kind of boosts your self-confidence. So that's kind of how I live.
I love that. Great definition. So thanks for sharing that. And Vidhya, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
I'm going to give you a little bit of background of, how my childhood and how I grew up. An Indian household, and not to age myself, but a long time ago, like 25 years ago, any decision you make was questioned. And being a female and the oldest one in the family, everything was sort of like looked upon, was a spotlight, and you had to make the right decisions. And there was a certain definition of what a girl would do versus a boy would do in sort of the Asian, household, at least the Indian household that we all grew up in, that I can think back on. So everything was sort of a revolutionary conversation in my family with my parents. So for me, it all boiled down to making sure that, again, very young age, I realized I know what I want to do. And it may not have been very futuristic, as the age, as you grow older, but it's definitely something that I struggled with. But then what I learned over each of those struggles or debates or arguments in decision making was that don't be afraid to make mistakes. And as long as you know what you want to do and you pick the option that you want to do, own it, just do it and accept whatever the outcome is. And that's how you sort of build on the confidence and know that, okay, you know what, I have a gut feel and I know what I want to do, so I'm going to go do it, no matter who says what. As much as it was a very, growing up, it was hard, but I think it also helped prove my self-confidence and who I am as a person to my family, as well as everybody around me outside the family. So certainly a good experience.
Thanks for sharing that. And I love how you mentioned trusting our gut, because I know sometimes it's easier said than done. And there's times where I didn't listen to my instincts, and then I just fell flat on my face, not realizing that we have more intuition that we realize, and sometimes we don't trust ourselves because of the self-esteem issues, the cultural upbringing. And this is why it's so important to work on ourselves every single day so we can see our worth and be the person that we are today. And what was that point in your life, especially you're an engineer, you're a chief marketing officer. I mean, there's a report from catalyst.org that mentioned that, Asian women represented only 2.7% in, high corporate roles in 2021, which is a very small number. And so what was that aha moment in your life when you realized you were more than enough to go out there and, be in a high position, be in a path that's not always typical for Asian women? What was that aha moment for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to kind of tie back to what you said just now, which is, I think part of why women and Asian women in general, I feel like we are pretty hard on ourselves in how we evaluate ourselves compared to the others. And I noticed, the first thing was, it was okay to be wrong. It was okay to fail at times, as long as you have the drive to go do what you want to do. And the second subtone to that, or undertone to that, was what let's not overanalyze and be critical of what we can do or cannot do, because there are people with less capabilities that end up doing things that we, with our set of competencies and a little bit more of self-confidence, could just conquer the world in a lot better way than anybody else can. So it was a real balance of thought process to say, I can do it. I know I want to do it. It's just that let's reduce the amount of over-analysis that we do and the criticality that we put on ourselves, and really focus on what could go wrong, right? Let's go get it done. And if we fail, then we learn from that experience. So that was sort of the aha moment when I first took that step to say, maybe I'm ready, maybe I'm not, but let's shoot for it. So that's kind of the approach I took it over I would say the past 5-6 years, and opportunities that came. And I'm very glad I did those.
I'm so glad you did it as well, because in general, women face a huge confidence gap over men. And it's for this very reason. The overanalysis, feeling we have to be 110% ready, not realizing men are like 20% ready, and they're just going to go for it. And whether they get it or not, they're glad that they just went for it. Sometimes we see failure as like the end of everything, not realizing it's just feedback and we can always learn from it. And I know sometimes it's easier said than done when you come from a culture where it's like, you had to get good grades. You always had to be the top of everything. You always had to be the perfect daughter, wife, mother, which really takes a toll on us, right? Thinking that we have to live up to this unrealistic standard of a woman. And so I really love that analogy that you mentioned. You're just going to go for it. You didn't die. You're still standing. And it also led you to all the amazing opportunities that you have today. And because of that realization, what's your life been like now?
I think I've grown stronger as a person, as a wife. And my husband jokingly says he's my trophy husband. So it's always, it's good. And I think my parents really now see, at times I do take the opportunity to tell them, the struggles early in the childhood, just as a fun fact. But no, I think I've grown, for my daughter, as she's a sophomore in college, as she enters the workplace and does what she wants to do, I feel like I can be a better mom, better female colleague, in helping her kind of grow into the woman that she needs to be successful in her life. So as a person, stronger as a person, wife and a mom. And then, workplace, it kind of reflects, with the confidence that you can get things done, just creates a stronger image of yourself. And I got to say, if for the listeners, it's certainly worth the journey and the effort to really invest in self-confidence, especially for women, and not doubt yourself when everybody else is doubting you.
I love that. And thanks for sharing that. And to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey to self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
Know what you want and go get it. Never doubt yourself, because, women are, I think the sixth sense or instinct or gut, whatever you think of, that is pretty strong in women. And I think we are in our own way of progress. So if we can get through that part and you know exactly what you want, I think we can go get it.
I love that tip. That should be a slogan. Know what you want and just go get it.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing to it, nothing more to it,
Yeah, I know it's simple. It's not easy. It's a simple process, but it's not easy. But if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, right? And so this is why it takes a lot of a mindset shift, a different perspective to go out there and get the things that we want in our life. And as women, the more we go out there and just become go-getters and be able to take up space, like imagine how much we can achieve. So I love that tip. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn at Vidhya Srinivasan. So if you look for the profile, that's where you can find me. I'm also on Instagram, not as active. I kind of follow my daughter, so but otherwise, mostly on LinkedIn and Twitter, or X, I should say, where I'm pretty active.
Thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Vidhya, you can also head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Vidhya's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I really just want to thank Vidhya today for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Vidhya.
Appreciate it, Sheena. A pleasure to be here. And yeah, for any viewers wanting to talk to me more about it, happy to share some of my experiences.
Not a problem. It was such an honor to have you on the show, Vidhya. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. You can order your copy of Asian Women Who Boss Up book by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.